Thank you for downloading this in-ear entertainment podcast. You're listening to Shakespeare's Sonnets. Sonnet 54. Oh, how much more doth beauty beauteous seem by that sweet ornament which truth doth give. The rose looks fair, but fairer we deem for that sweet odour which doth in it live. The canker blooms have full as deep a dye as the perfumed tincture of the roses. Hang on such thorns and play as wantonly when summer's breath their masked buds discloses. But for their virtue only is their show. They live unwoo'd and unrespected vade, die to themselves. Sweet roses do not so. Of their sweet deaths are sweetest odours made. And so of you, beauteous and lovely youth, when that shall vade, my verse distills your truth. That was Sonnet 54 of Shakespeare's Sonnets. I'm Mark Chesley, and I am joined by a very pensive-looking...
Thierry Hillis. I'm just, trying to... Because I am very prepared today. That's the first time I've seen this sonnet.
Excellent, you're very prepared. Were you Googling it as I was reading?
I was just trying to quickly reread it a second time. Because I'm not sure I've come across this one before at all.
Oh my gosh, that's so professional. And we have omitted that on air. Oh, dearie me.
Well... You're not paying me, so I'm officially an amateur. That is the difference between the two.
That is true. I am not.
Professionals are the idiots that get paid.
Yeah, I'm not paying him, and I'm not paying myself. That made it sound like I was paying myself. Not paying myself either.
I am keeping all of the profits from this.
Well, yeah, the profits. Oh, yeah.
Well, the thousands of pounds that Tramadol pays us for occasionally mentioning their product.
Oh, yeah. I've got a mountain of Tramadol pills to my right and a mountain of cash to my left.
See, that's why we should really make this a video podcast, so people can see the hypocrite that you are.
I was considering for maybe a special episode doing a Google Hangout episode, which might be interesting.
Oh, that we could make that one about the film. Well, we shouldn't really.
Okay, let's do that. We'll hide that away. And then we'll think about that later. And for when we do the Google Hangout, I'll stop doing my camp arm movements. That's a deal. So Sonnet 54. This one is, I really like this one, and I think it's the first time that Shakespeare has ever really acknowledged that the fair youth will die. In the very early sonnets, we had a lot about the fair youth should avoid death and should fight back for death and should fight against life to stay alive, and I think this might be the first time that overtly Shakespeare has said you're going to die, essentially, which is in the final two lines of this. And so you beauteous and lovely youth, when that shall vade, which is an odd phrase, my verse distills your truth. And the extended metaphor of roses get even better after they die because we take their smell and make them into perfume, which is a concentrated form of them. So when you die, fair youth, my poems will create this concentrated form of you, and you will live on as a pure beauty.
Which is sort of what happened.
Which is essentially sort of what happened. But also, because that distillation isn't just the concentration, it's the removal of imperfection and the removal of the dirty bits. And so it's almost like Shakespeare's admitting in this that the fair youth has some fault, which again would be another first.
Yeah, I guess so. My verse distills your truth.
Unless what?
Well, but it's also my verse distills your truth. So it's getting.
Unless what he's saying is
he's showing that the bit that what the fair youth actually is.
Yes, and remove. I suppose it's distilling his truth from the rest of him, which is still perfect.
Yeah,
I suppose maybe. Fine, you can have that. That my deep analytical understanding of this sonnet destroyed by Thierry just going, hang on.
That is wrong, Mark.
Thank you for that.
Now go stand in the corner and think about what you've done.
Oh, we should have a naughty corner. Naughty step and naughty corner.
Naughty step.
But Yeah, this whole sonnet seems to be about distilling things, making them more pure or making them better, I guess. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I just see that.
So we have that with it starts off with the rose and the sweet odour, and the rose kind of plays through, and then the thorns sort of disappear, and their masked buds discloses their true smell, and so with the fair youth, he loses his physical form, I guess, and Shakespeare's verse distills his truth, distills whatever his truth is, and I don't know what would be the fair youth's truth. If only you had, this kind of suggests you have one truth, and I don't know what the fair youth's one would be other than beauty.
But I don't know, perfection in general. I mean, he never really. It is always about the beauty.
Yes.
He never really goes, oh, you are brilliant at maths. You are going to be the best astronomer or the best
astrologer.
Astrologer. Well, they didn't really know the difference at the time.
That's true. Okay, fine.
They thought it was the same sort of. Yeah, it's always concentrating on his looks and.
Yeah, how he's always beauteous.
Just very shallow of Shakespeare.
It is quite. Yeah, you could argue that all of the sonnets are quite shallow. That they are focusing on beauty and physical perfection.
Yeah, physical beauty rather than.
Which I've never really.
Him being a great person.
It hasn't really occurred to me before you mentioned it. That yeah, these.
Because the one time an action is described by the fair youth, it's sleeping with a girl that Shakespeare likes, and that's not a good action. That's the one he condemns, and then he goes back to, but you're so beautiful.
Yes.
So maybe he's a good-looking asshole.
Yeah, because there's no mention of good virtues of giving to the poor or looking after his family or even having business acumen or whatever. Because I mean, we presume the fair youth has a job of some description. Although,
or a rich family.
But there's no talk about helping the family out, or so yeah. So either the youth lives a pure life of pleasure, and is one of those vapid vessels of like the people I despised at secondary school, the ones who looked good and therefore were cool, and is one of them. Yeah, no, he has to be. Oh, I don't like this now. I've just made the fair youth into one of my bullies. That's not.
But that's sort of weird because Shakespeare's older in this, isn't he?
Yes, Shakespeare at this time.
He's sort of the wise old 20-year-old telling the 12-year-old what to do.
Oh, I think Shakespeare, when he wrote these, would have been 30 yards.
Would have been much
30,
older.
40, I think
we
decided. And fair youth in this, in my head, I'm still thinking 13, 14, because that would have been around.
That would have been the age that, yeah.
So, yeah. I suppose you could then see if that holds true. The sonnets and the reference to beauty being a kind of midlife crisis, what we would call a midlife crisis now, that Shakespeare is lusting after his lost beauty. Because Shakespeare wasn't an ugly-looking man.
I mean, all the pictures that I can think of, it's really only ever just his face wearing the massive...
The thruff.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah,
but I don't think. I mean, that's going to sound bad. I was going to say, can you achieve huge levels of success and be hideous? That's a loaded question, isn't it?
You probably could have at Shakespeare's time, more so than today, mainly because they hadn't a way to spread pictures.
Yes, I suppose that's true. And when I say successful, I was meaning more in the sense of famous success, being a personality, which Shakespeare definitely was of the day. He was a well-known personality across the country. So I can't imagine.
But then they'd also, I mean, beauty at the time was, I mean, they didn't have toothpaste and they didn't have disinfectants and soaps and.
Yeah. And then we're probably stinky, didn't really have showers. And Shakespeare's dad was a glove maker. This is what I know, having been in Stratford last week. And to make gloves, use leather, and to make leather pliable and usable, you have to treat it with dog poo. So he might not have been the nicest smelling person.
But then that's sort of like, have you ever been to a farm? That's you get used to that smell.
True. That's true.
I mean, that sounds horrible. It's like the first, if you are on the farm, the first maybe even hour, you just, it's just a weird smell and it stinks and everything. Then after an hour, you just,
it's normal.
It's fine.
That's true.
It's like sitting in a closed room for hours without opening a window, and then someone else comes in and you're just like, oh my god, it's just
stinky.
It's stinking in here, and you just go, meh.
It's fine. I like my stink.
I like my... It's my stink. Leave me alone. If it's not good enough for you, just go back outside.
I don't love you enough to stay in your stink. And then you shut the door and go away. Yes. No, that makes sense. So, how did we get onto that? I don't know how we got onto that.
The beauty is in just being physical beauty.
Yeah. So it must be, and this sonnet, I think, shows that what Shakespeare wants to do is distill that beauty down and keep it with him. And it's a very... Distillation is a destructive process as well. You destroy the original and you end up with an essence. So Shakespeare is essentially at this point going, you as a person I don't care about so much. I want this truth of yours, which is your beauty, your unequaled beauty, and I want it for myself. Whether that is in the terms of I want it in terms of sex, or I want it in terms of possession, or I don't know.
Which I mean, this entire sonnet, as you say, just reinforces that, because all the examples, even he lists here, never mind all the distillation process, but he also he talks about having a dye somewhere. Yeah, the canker blooms have full as deep a dye as the perfumed tinctures of the roses. So just everything he describes here is always about making something more physically beautiful.
Yeah,
the roses that lose their thorns and
taking what makes this flower beautiful and distilling it down into a beautiful dye. It's about taking the one element of something that you truly admire and making it.
It's not even about preserving the flower. It's about destroying the flower and using it to make something else beautiful.
So in that sense, this is quite an aggressive sonnet in terms of it's not a love sonnet in terms of I love you, I want to be with you. It's a aggressive, your beauty is what I want.
I don't really. It's always necrophiliac. I don't really care. I always worship the beauty of that particular person, but it was the beauty, not the person that he worshipped. Because it's always been about spreading that beauty.
Do we think this reflects the fact that the fair youth did upset Shakespeare? So now his relationship with the fair youth has changed from a worshipping the fair youth to a worshipping the beauty that he holds.
Yeah, but then he's always sort of done that. He's always worshipped the beauty of that particular person, but it was the beauty, not the person that he worshipped. Because it's always been about spreading that beauty and then...
But the beauty as possessed by one person. But this is now
but the person itself was irrelevant.
Yes, and this is now reinforcing that in a sense that it's almost Shakespeare saying, I want to remove the beauty from you.
Almost. Yeah. I want to take the beauty from...
So this is more aggressive. This is quite an aggressive way of...
It's fairly, as far as telling someone that they're quite good looking, it's a very aggressive roundabout way to do it.
It's quite close to I want to wear your skin in a kind of...
In a very, very creepy way, yes.
Excellent. Creepy Shakespeare. Creepy Shakespeare. On that creepy note, would you like to read Sonnet 54?
I'll try.
Now that we've put that image of what it really means in everyone's mind.
I'm waiting for someone to rewrite, because quite a lot of novel. Well, I guess the zombie genre is dying out now, but quite a lot of stuff has been rewritten as, Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter, and
yeah, that's true.
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I'm surprised no one did that to Shakespeare. Because he's out of copyright, so it wouldn't have been a problem with...
Yeah. Romeo and Juliet and Cthulhu.
I would read that.
Hamlet and the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
Oh God, I'm surprised no one's done that.
This is good. We should do these. We should do them.
Well, there's an idea for the next 0D.
Yes. Rewritten Shakespeare. Excellent. Anyway.
Well, you did have in the interview Shakespeare through the interpretive medium of dance, so maybe it could.
We could zush that idea up a bit and go nuts. Anyway, you read.
I'll read the sonnet.
You read the sonnet. Yes.
I'm so good at avoiding it this time. Oh God.
You haven't even read a word.
Oh,
yet.
You wouldn't think that I did 4 years of Latin when I look at LIV and go, what number is that?
I just have them written down. 54.
Sonnet 54. Oh, how much more doth beauty beauteous seem by that sweet ornament which truth doth give. The rose looks fair, but fairer we it deem for that sweet odour for which doth in it live. The canker blooms have fullest deeper dye as the perfumed tincture of the roses. Hang on, such... That was a weird...
It is weird sentence construction there.
The canker blooms have fullest deeper dye as the perfumed tincture of the roses. Hang on such thorns, and play as wantonly when summer's breath their masked buds discloses. But for their virtue only is their show. They live unwoo'd and unrespected fade, die to themselves. Sweet roses do not so, of their sweet deaths are sweetest odours made. And so of you, beauteous and lovely youth, when that shall vade, my verse distills your truth. Actually, maybe it is just about Shakespeare waiting for the fair youth to die. Not as in sitting around counting the days until it finally happens, but rather saying if you do, then my sonnets will serve the same way as a dead flower would still be used for something beautiful.
The difference being is we don't wait for flowers to die before we distill them. We shorten their lives.
Yeah, that's true. We do kill them when they are at their
so maybe it's a bad metaphor in that sense. Or maybe not. Anyway, that was Sonnet 54 of Shakespeare Sonnets. I've been Mark Chatterley, and you can follow me on Twitter at Nufkin.
And I've been Thierry Hillis, and you can follow me on Twitter at Sound of Seagulls.
And we're now doing this wonderful thing called Flatter. So if you have a Flatter account, you can Flatter us. If you don't know what Flatter is, it's this awesome service where you can do micro donations to various creators of free content, and you can find out all about it on their website or by clicking the little button on our site. Brilliant. Thank you very much, and we shall see you all next time for Sonnet 55.
Goodbye.
Bye. You've been listening to Shakespeare Sonnets with Mark Chatterley and Thierry Hillis. This has been an In-Ear Entertainment podcast. To listen to other podcasts or find out more about In-Ear Entertainment, go to www.inearentertainment.com.